Yes, so rather than lads, welcome back to Cossy podcast. My name is Cossy. We are back again today, early morning. We're gonna be speaking about a couple of things. Xhaka back in full training, Zakaria on a free in the summer. Arsenal looking at that, but there is an option that we have to have UEFA Europa League or Champions League for Zakaria to join us in the summer. We'll see what about that. And obviously, Dejan Kulusevski, a loan deal with an option to buy has been proposed by Arsenal. We'll be discussing that. But of course, the biggest stories, guys, are about three strikers that Arsenal being linked with at the moment. Jonathan David from Lille at the moment, the Canadian international, and obviously Gabriel Barbosa will be diving into that, trying to look at those areas and see which kind of striker do we need. Of course, the Mirror have just come out and confirmed that Arsenal will be tabling an offer of around 60 million euros for Calvert Dominic Lewin. That and more in this episode. Obviously, today we are taking on Everton. It's a very, very big game. One where we need to bounce back, but also we need to catch up with Everton, with Tottenham, with Manchester United. They won their games over. It's not really over the weekend, but in the midweek, and now we have to beat them. Today is Monday. We're playing Everton. It's a difficult game. We have to go to the Goodson back, get 3 points from there, and go back to position 5. Probably go join top. I mean, not really join top. Have the same number of points as West Ham. And maybe the next games are Southampton and West Ham. It's gonna be very, very difficult December. But we have to catch up. We have to get the points, and therefore today is a big night for the boys. I'll be giving you some update around the team news, around the teams later on in Mikel Arteta's press conference. So make sure you do check that out at 4 p.m. live. Let's get our party started. So to begin the party, let's start off with Granit Xhaka, who's back in full training. Now, this is something that I really didn't expect this early. And of course, Mikel Arteta there speaking about, the team fitness news and who's back and who's out. He also said that he didn't expect Xhaka to be back this early, but it's a very, very huge boost that is back, that is back in full training. He might not be available for the Everton game. It might have come a little bit earlier for him, and I cannot actually disagree with that. But the good thing is that Xhaka is back in full training, and that is going to be a huge boost to Mikel Arteta. We all know what Xhaka means to the manager. Probably not to fans like me, because I still believe Arsenal can do better. Without players like Granit Xhaka, we can bring in someone who's better than Granit Xhaka, and I thought we were going to do that in the summer. But nevertheless, think about it. If you're going to put context around it, if you're going to put context, on it, that is the case. Xhaka is an important player for Mikel Arteta, and the fact that he's back at the moment where you have Thomas Partey really not performing at his best. You have Abosam Lekonga, the only active central midfielder that I see in the side. It's a big, big boost. We saw Mohamed Elneny against Manchester United. Absolute crap in that game. So Xhaka back in training, full training. That means that he might get involved as early as Boxing Day, or probably as early as the match on 1st January 2022, and that could give us a huge boost. So probably Xhaka coming back means that Arsenal might not go for a midfielder in the January transfer window. That is the unfortunate part of it, because Elneny and Partey will be out for AFCON. Xhaka, Lokonga, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles could be the three players that are going to carry us through January, throughout the period where AFCON will be taking place. And that's the question I want to pose to you guys. Do you think Xhaka, Lokonga, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles can take us through the games in January without Partey and Mohamed Elneny? Let me know in the comments below. Do we still need a new midfielder after Xhaka coming back in full training, or do we need to focus on other areas? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll be very, very glad to get your feedback there. Obviously, now guys, let's dive into the new strikers, the new striker links, the new strikers that we've been linked with at the moment. A lot of talk is flying here and there. Obviously, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be leaving the club, in January to go for AFCON. Don't really get scared, not really on a permanent transfer, but leaving the club for AFCON. We know that Alexander Lacazette leaving in the summer. Arsenal are in some bits of a difficult position now. We need to get 2 strikers. We need to get in 2 players that are actually at the level of Aubameyang, or even better than Aubameyang and Alexander Lacazette at the moment. We've been linked with a couple of them. Dusan Vlahovic, one of them that we've already talked about on this channel. At the moment, Arsenal are still waiting for what's going to come out of Fiorentina, and of course the likes of the agents of Dusan Vlahovic and the player himself. Is he going to agree to play for Arsenal, or is he actually going to snub us? If he snubs us, then we have to look at other options available in the market. Now, option 1, I'm going to start with Calvert-Lewin, a player that I've actually spoken about a lot of times, but this time it's a confirmation that Arsenal are willing to table more than 60 million euros for the English international. Now, this is really interesting, very, very interesting compared to the price we can pay for players like Jonathan David, compared to players we can pay for strikers like Gabriel Barbosa. Arsenal are interested in paying a 60 million euro price tag for Calvert-Lewin. What do you think about that, guys? It's really interesting there, because for me, if I look about it, if I look at it, yes, 60 million for Calvert-Lewin. He's a young player, and he's really proven in the Premier League. He knows what the Premier League is, and maybe it fits into the style of Mikel Arteta. But for me, 60 million euros, I feel like that is overpaying for a talent like Calvert-Lewin. I would spend that money elsewhere. Maybe, look, if it is 60 million euros on Calvert-Lewin, yes, rather than spending maybe 90 million euros on Dusan Vlahovic. But I still think we could get a better player with the 60 million euros. But anyway, guys, Mirror are saying that Arsenal are preparing an offer for 60 million, or worth 60 million, for the man himself, Calvert-Lewin. Mikel Arteta loves the player, and obviously we know now Arsenal are really interested in signing in young English talent. We've seen that they brought in the likes of Aaron Ramsdale there at a very, very expensive cost compared to all the other goalkeepers that have been bought around his age, especially from inside the league. And obviously you're looking at Benjamin White, 50 million pounds, again another very expensive defender. Obviously we know the talent he possesses, we know the qualities he possesses, we know the attributes he has as a player, but again, 50 million euros, that shows you the Arsenal are more than willing to spend money, invest on huge talent coming in from England. I don't know what I don't know why our transfer strategy actually turned to that point, but it really looks good, and I think we should actually we should be acting in that same direction. Now, talking about other strikers that we're looking at, yes, Calvert-Lewin this season has actually been injured already, and of course that's one of my worries. What if he's injury prone? Maybe, and of course I really do not trust him as a striker. My instincts do not actually trust him, trust the best of him as a striker. But let's look at the other 2 strikers that have been linked yet again with Arsenal. Number 1 is Brazilian striker Gabriel Barbosa. Played with Inter Milan a couple of years ago. Things didn't actually go well with him. He's currently playing in Brazil at Flamengo, and he's actually doing really a great job, because if you look at the last 3 seasons, 2019, he played 29 games and scored 25 goals. That is massive for a striker. 29 games, 25 goals. 2020, 2021, played 25 games and only scored 14 goals. This season, he has already, he has already scored 12 goals in 17 appearances. Now, look, guys, if I think about it, Gabriel Barbosa and all his numbers, very, very interesting. Of course, we know the Brazilian league cannot be compared to the Premier League. The Brazilian league cannot be compared to European league and European football. However much I want to say, bring in Barbosa. He's really hitting it. He's really hitting the heights there in Brazil. I'm a little bit skeptical. Gabriel Barbosa, 25 years of age, he's really, really young. Probably could actually fit into what we want to do because again, we want young players that can actually, develop together. So probably, a player who's 25, born in 1996. And if you look at the numbers, they're actually not really bad. They're not the kind of numbers that you could, you just throw away, throw under the table. No, you would actually take them. You would take a player with the numbers of Gabriel Barbosa. But my question there is, why did he fail at Inter Milan? Obviously, came there at Inter Milan and only managed one goal at his spell at Inter Milan, and that shows you that things actually didn't work out. But then he went back to, Brazil. Now he's playing with, playing with Flamengo, and he has actually netted a couple of goals, 12 goals of, so far. This season, this year, that is, in 17 appearances. Already last year, he had 14 goals in 25. And then in 2019, he had 25 goals in 29 appearances. Brazilian striker, still very young. Would you do a player like Gabriel Barbosa? Obviously, the reason why Arsenal would do this deal is, one, a young player who's on fire, but again, costing you a little bit less than maybe the likes of Dusan Vlahovic and Kabil Levin. Because again, guys, if you look at Gabriel Barbosa, it's going to cost you between 10 to 35 million euros. That is the maximum. 35 million euros could be the maximum. Players like Kabil Levin, 35 is the minimum. It's the lowest you can pay for them. So maybe if Arsenal decide to go for Gabriel Barbosa, it could be for issues of finances. It could be for issues of money. I don't see how other things are really related. He's not my first choice. I wouldn't take him as first choice, but there he's been linked with Arsenal, and we have to wait and see what is going to happen. What is he going to do if he maybe joins Arsenal? Now, the other player that is actually very interesting is playing in Europe and is playing with Lille. They won the league with Lille last season, and his name is called Jonathan David. Now, Jonathan David is one player that has actually caught attention. I did read a piece about him in the Guardian. The Guardian actually saying that is developing into a top class modern striker, and maybe clubs should be starting to place in their bits. Clubs should be starting to look at him as the next big thing as a striker. Now, if you look at the statistics of Jonathan David, they're quite overwhelming as well. Last season, 37 games and he scored 13 goals, and this season already 17 games he has actually scored 11 goals. So that shows you that that is really progressing better as a striker. Very, very young compared to Gabriel Barbosa. He was born in 2000, and that means only 21 years of age. Coming in from Canada there, born in New York. I don't really see, Arsenal really, signing Jonathan David. That is my opinion there. I just feel like he's not the kind of striker that Arsenal are looking at. I mean, the links are there. I do understand that. But if you look at the profile of strikers that we are looking at, yes, he is in that age bracket and things like that. But if you look at this, the stature of strikers we are looking at, I don't see Arsenal really going for Jonathan David. Because I could be wrong, I could be right. Like I said, he's a striker that is actually developing at the moment, 21 years of age, almost the same age as Dusan Vlahovic, Erling Haaland, and of course, the likes of Alexander Isak. So, it shows you, again, Arsenal want to go for someone who's a little bit young. 11 goals, 17 appearances. If he keeps that up, he could have 30 goals by the end of the season, and maybe that is when Arsenal will actually, be very, very open to signing him in. But of course, among the three strikers, I think in pecking order, you would go with, Calvin Lewin. He has the experience in the Premier League. He has the experience on the European scene, and then you go with Jonathan David in number 2, and then obviously in number 3, you'd go with Gabriel Barbosa. So among those three, let me know in the comments below. Who would you go for? Would you go for Barbosa? Would you go for Jonathan David? Or would you go for the man himself, Calvert Dominic Lewin, who's rumored to be the next thing that replaces Alexander Lacazette? For me, whose spell at Arsenal has been really mixed up with poor performances and average performances, some good performances here and there, but majorly average performances and poor performances there at the Emirates Stadium. And of course, Arsenal have made their offer very, very open. to Juve for Dujan Kulusevski. They want to take Kulusevski, or we want to take Kulusevski on a loan deal with an obligation to buy. Now, of course, like I said, Mikel Arteta did come out and say that we do not have big transfer plans. We don't have big transfer plans in January, but we talk about it every day. We talk about it every week. We sit down, we make plans for the summer. We make things known to our bosses. We tell them what we want to do. We make them understand the position we are, in which we are, and we also try to tell them that we want to be in such and such a position. So Arsenal there, according to Mikel, they are not going to be getting in very big names in the January transfer window. But obviously, like I said, it's gonna either be loan deals or free transfers. I don't see Arsenal do free transfers in January, but one or two loan deals could actually add massive value to the side. Because for me, guys, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a side that should be improving in terms of going forward. Look at the Manchester United game. We could have won that game 3-1, 3-2. With the moment we got the first goal, we switched off. We became absolute idiots on that pitch, and that has been the problem all through this season. We have only scored 17 goals this season. You can't believe that. Clubs like Liverpool have scored already 40 goals in this season. Arsenal have managed to score 17 goals in 14 games. That shows you that we only score one goal per game on average. Not even 1.5, but one goal per game on average. It is still very low, very low. And of course, the reason there is the likes of players like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang that are not helping the team. So Dejan Kulusevski may be coming in on a loan deal. Juve are still evaluating that, probably letting him go, on loan in January, dealing away with his wages, and probably getting the money there in the summer. Arsenal are preparing that offer. I think it's a very good offer. I think Arsenal should push through with it. It's one that can actually help us get, because if Pepe leaves in January, and Aubameyang and Partey and Elneny, we will need at least two players to come in there on loan to fill those gaps, to fill the void. And I think Dejan Kulusevski, again, is one of those players that could come in, make a major impact, make a massive impact. With all due respect to Smith Rowe, I still feel like the team cannot depend on Smith Rowe, Saka, and Martinelli at the moment alone. We need more players. We need more senior players. We need more talent in there to get more goals. We can't score 7. Our problem last season was scoring the goals. Our problem this season is scoring the goals. We can't keep doing things the same way and hope to get different results. So Kulusevski, they're wanted on a loan deal initially, and then in the summer, Arsenal would prefer to make the deal permanent. And finally, guys, Denis Zakaria. Arsenal have finally opened up to the agents and of the player and the player as well. They want to take him on a free in the summer. Now, I looked at this very carefully. And I knew Arsenal wanted Zakaria on a free deal. Obviously, I spoke about it earlier on, in earlier videos, and I said if there is a way Arsenal want to take Denis Zakaria, it's gonna be on a loan deal. Of course, it's a very good deal to do in the January transfer window. There, get him in. 15 million pounds probably, or 15 million euros. It's as simple as that. Get him in. But my problem with Arsenal is the budget. We can't spend 156 million in the summer and then spend another huge budget in January, and then another huge budget on a striker in the summer. It won't really happen. So what I understand is we will try to get the man himself, Denis Zakaria, on a free transfer in the summer. That is what Arsenal are looking at, probably as a potential replacement of his countrymate, Granit Xhaka. But the thing there with Zakaria is they want a club that has European football. If Arsenal do not qualify for European football, we are not going to get Denis Zakaria. And as things look like, I don't see Arsenal going there to get European football. Unless it's Europa League, Champions League, we are not there. Yes, we want to be there. I want to go back to Champions League. You know how much, I love my team to be playing, at the top level. But at the moment, I don't see us go there. I don't see Arsenal go there to the UEFA Champions League. I don't see us finishing top 4. I don't see us finishing top 5. It could be. Maybe the best we can do is finishing in the 6th place. The table has already started taking place. You can look at United. They're back. They're back on top. They have not lost a game in their last 3 games. Not a game. They've beaten Arsenal. They've beaten Crystal Palace, and they've also gotten a point against Chelsea. So look, Zakaria, good player, but for me, if he doesn't want to join us, well and fine. I feel like we can get a better kind of midfielder, not really one that matches the stature, of Luka Modric, but I want someone like that. I want someone like a Luka Modric. I want someone like a Toni Kroos. I want someone who can provide a difference. It's not Zakaria. Yes, I would love Zakaria for issues of squad depth, maybe January. But if he doesn't want to join us, then we should be going for someone who's a little bit better in terms of ball progression, a little bit better in terms of technical ability, talent, and things like that. Maybe not Zakaria. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. And obviously, like I said, 4 p.m. we'll be going into the into the press conference. Mikel Arteta coming in a little bit late, and then before the game, I'll be giving you another kickoff live.